Today on our 2007 Toyota Tundra, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the CURT double lock flip and store underbed gooseneck hitch, part number C60751. This is what our gooseneck looks like when it's installed from underneath the vehicle. This is going to be a custom fit for this truck. It's going to be a black powder coat finish, so it's going to resist any rust and corrosion. As far as the installation goes, it is a fairly straightforward installation. It's going to come with all the necessary hardware. The only drilling you're going to have to do is for the center hole and for your two safety chain hooks. One good thing about this CURT gooseneck is it's going to have a dual pin, so it's going to help keep your gooseneck ball more secure. It's also going to come with a block plate, so if this pin slides out, your goose ball is not going to come past the bottom edge of this. This plate's going to stop it. Your safety chains loops are going to be spring activated, so they'll stay down on the bed of the truck. They won't stick up. However, they will be fairly easy to grab and pull up when they're needed. Here's a look at our gooseneck from inside of the bed. Your kit's going to come with a 2 5/16 inch ball. If you look at the slot, there's a pin down inside the hole, and when you line it up, it'll slide right into place. You lock your double pin, it locks your ball into place. You don't have to worry about it moving. As far as your safety chains, from the top here, you can see they're spring loaded. So when not in use, they sit nice and snug up against the bed. Now your vertical tow weight, which means straight up and down, is going to be 7,500 pounds. Your gross towing weight is 30,000 pounds. I do recommend checking your owner's manual to make sure that your vehicle can withstand that amount of weight. You're going to want to pick the lowest number. As you can see, with this gooseneck, it's going to have a nice chrome finish around the neck of the ball opening. The ball and the safety chains also have a chrome finish to match, so it's going to look very nice in the back of your vehicle. Keep in mind, our gooseneck ball cannot be stored in the upside down position due to the limited space between the axle and the bottom of the gooseneck. Now it is going to come with a nice cap. It's going to help keep any dirt, crime, or anything else from getting down inside the hole. Here we're going to have the handle. You're going to pull out, turn to the side, and it'll lock in the out position. It is going to have a nice rubber coating, gives you plenty of grip. When you're ready to use it, simply turn in, and it'll slide back into place. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's show you how to get this installed. To start our installation, we want to come in the back of our truck. We need to find our center location where we're going to be drilling our hole. Now you want to make sure you read the instructions to find that location per bed size that you have. Where you want to measure is you want to make sure you measure from the edge of the bed, not from the tailgate. I'm just going to take a paint marker, just put a dot on it, and we're going to go between the wheel wells to find our center. Keep in mind, if you have a spray-in bed liner, you need to add that to your measurement. Next, we're going to drill a small pilot hole on our center mark. Next, we're going to take a 4-inch hole saw bit to complete our hole. Now, you see here, I got a piece of wood that has some holes drilled in it. This is a template. What this is going to help me do is going to help keep my blade from walking around to make the hole much nicer. Next, I'm just going to take a file, go around the edge here, just get off any burrs that may be stuck. Now we'll vacuum up our shavings. I'm going to take some black paint. I'm going to spray around this edge where this bare metal is to help resist any corrosion. Now I have a rubber seal, and this is up to you if you want to put it on. I'm going to put it around this hole. It's going to help clean up the hole look a little bit and protect the metal ring that's around the ball from banging up against the bed. All you have to do is just push it on, and it has a sealer around the inside of it. So you don't have to add any glue or anything like that. Now it's a good idea to go ahead and remove your spare tire, give you a little extra room, which we have already done. Then we're going to remove this rearmost exhaust hanger. Just going to use a spray lubricant. We'll take a pry bar, work it off. Now we'll remove our heat shield, 10mm socket. And we'll just set this aside. Now on your passenger side, you're going to have some wire loom that runs across your frame rail. You're going to have a clip here, then you're going to have a clip here in the center. What we want to do is we want to pull those clips out just to loosen this wire so we can get our cross arms in. So on each side, if you pinch, you'll be able to push it up through like that. And we'll have the same thing with this one, which this one is going to be up inside of this cross beam here. Now we'll take some channel locks or a pair of pliers. You're going to have two tabs. You're going to have one on your passenger side on the inside of this rail, and on your driver's side, you're going to have one on the inside of this rail. You want to take those tabs and you want to bend them straight down. And we'll do the same thing with this one on the driver's side. Now on your driver's side, you're going to see I have a box here. This is your fuel pump control box. We need to remove that so that we have room to install our bracket that goes on our frame. There's going to be two nuts on the outside of the frame. Inside the wheel well, they're going to be 12 millimeter in size. We'll use a 12 millimeter socket to remove them. I'll pull it out. We'll just set it off to the side like this. A little tip I want to give you is when they paint these rails, you get paint on the inside of the threads, so you want to make sure you clean those out good. Tap them, do whatever you need to do. Just make sure you clean them out good so you don't get any cross threading. Now we're going to install our cross arms. And if you'll notice, they're a little bit different. This one has a single notch, this one has a double notch. This is going to be your front rail, this is going to be the rear one. We're going to install the rear one first. It's going to be installed with this end going up over top of the frame, so it's going to sit in like that. We're going to start by going over our exhaust onto our passenger side first. Push it in as far into the rail you can get it, and then we'll come up on our driver's side, go all the way towards the front and up over the rail. Once we get it on, we're going to slide it all the way back against the bed rail like that. Next, we'll install our front one. And our front one, with this notch here, you want to make sure that that's facing toward the cab. We'll slide them in place. You may have to pull down on this connector here just a little bit. So what I found was with this front rail, when it's pushed all the way up like this, we weren't able to get the center section to fit between these two, because the corner right here where this second notch is was hitting on this part here that was coming out on our cross beam from our bed. So what I did is I just kind of notched it out just enough that when I put my rail in, it's pushing all the way up flat against it. I'm able to get my center section in and install my hardware. What I suggest doing is when you trim that metal so it's not bare, taking a paint marker or some spray paint, covering it up. You don't have to worry about rust or corrosion. I'm going to do that with both sides here. Now, per your instructions, it says to put in the center section first. However, we have found that these frame brackets will not slide up in between the center section and the frame because these two plates need to go inside the C-section on the frame itself. So we're going to put these up first before we put our center section in. Now if you look at the bracket, you're going to have a driver's side and a passenger side. You'll notice this side sticks out a little bit more than this side. This one is going to be your driver's side. This side that sticks out is going to face toward the back of the vehicle. Or the bracket's going to be toward the back of the vehicle. You want to make sure when you install these that these holes are up toward the bed. So just slide those into place. On your frame, you're going to have a large hole here. And on top of the frame, you're going to have a large hole up there. You're going to line up the two holes in your bracket, bottom and top holes, with those two. You want to make sure that if you don't completely take out your fuel pump control box, make sure you put it inside here when you put this bracket in. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get it in. Now we'll do the same thing to the passenger side. Now with our side brackets in place, I'm going to take my 5-inch hex bolt that comes in my kit, followed by a lock washer And then you're going to file that with a flat washer. We're just going to loosely install these right now. And we're going to have 2 for each side bracket. Next, we're going to put our center section in place. You'll notice that this side is wider than this side. This side here is going to go toward the cab of the truck. And we're going to take our 1/2-inch hex bolts, followed by a lock washer. Then you're going to follow the lock washer with a flat washer. We're going to have 8 of these we're going to be putting in. We can put in our remaining hardware, except this one here. This is the one toward the back and toward the center. This one is going to get a blocker plate. Now this plate is going to go on the inside of your center section. Same combination, 5/8 bolt, lock washer followed by a flat washer. And you go through your plate first and then into the cross arm. Now for our 2 holes on our side plates that are mounting it to our frame, we're going to have 2 5/8 carriage bolts. One of them is going to have a flat washer on it. The top one is not. So we're going to slide this in, and you're going to have to slide it in sideways and kind of work it into the hole. Then you're going to put a flange nut on that. Then for our bottom one, carriage bolt, flat washer, flange nut. And then you're going to do that same thing to the other side. Once you have all your hardware installed, you can go ahead and tighten everything down and then torque it to the specifications and the instructions. Next, we're going to drill our holes for our safety chains. Now what you want to look for is the drop corrugation. However, in this truck, in some models, that drop corrugation falls right in the center of this. So, per our customer's request, he wants us to get as close to that drop corrugation as possible. So we're going to go right up on these inside 2 holes, kind of go up into the corner of it. I'm going to start with a pilot hole, and because that's on an angle, I want to make my holes just a little bit bigger by the time I'm finished, so that when I'm using my safety chain hooks, they don't get snagged. And we'll repeat that on this side. Next, we'll take our 1/2-inch drill bit and drill out the hole the rest of the way. Again, with the open metal, go ahead and spray it down to help prevent any corrosion. Now you want to make sure you don't have any metal on the top here. So if you have a file or something you put in your drill, just kind of run through it a little bit, get any of the burrs off. Take your safety chain hook, drop it in, make sure it's free. It's not getting hung up. Once you have that, you don't have to do any more drilling. I recommend go ahead putting some spray paint at the top also. So now we'll drop these in, we'll go down on the bottom. Now we're going to put our springs on. You're going to start with a flat washer. You're going to put on your spring, followed by another flat washer and a lock nut. And we're going to do that with the remaining 3. Next, we'll take a 3/4-inch socket. And you don't want to tighten these down all the way. You just want to tighten them down enough where that bolt head is just sticking out of that edge. Now we'll put our handle in. We're going to go on top of the frame rail. Then you're going to slide it through that hole right on the side of that center section. We're going to stop right there for just a second. We're going to take our large pin. We're going to slide it into the center part. From here, we're going to put on a flat washer, slide on our spring, and then we'll have another flat washer that'll go right in. The top hole in our dual pin is going to line up with our handle hole right there. So we'll slide this in until we get them lined up. Then you'll have a small nut and bolt to hold it in place. Put on our nut. Now we'll take a 7mm socket for our bolt head, 8mm wrench for our nut set. once you've completed putting your handle in, you can start putting everything else back together. Now, one thing, they give you 2 zip ties in your kit, and what they're for these 2 brake lines, because when the truck has weight on it, if it gets weight enough on it, it'll push down on these. So the zip ties are to pull these to the side, and you're going to zip tie them right to this bracket. Just like that, and then we'll cut off our excess, clean it up. Now we can go ahead and put our fuel pump control box back in place. Open up our holes, and we'll put our nuts on the outside there. Go ahead and tighten those down into place. Now we can put our exhaust back in place. Again, spray a little bit of lubricant on it. Help it slide on there a little easier. Once you get that in place, you can put up your spare tire and you're ready to go. And that'll do it for a look at and installation on the CURT double lock flip and store underbed gooseneck hitch, part number C60751 on our 2007 Toyota Tundra.